Hello and welcome to the Central Coast Poetry Shows, and I'm your host, Jim Russo. My reason for producing this show is this. For about 10 years, I've been reading and attending poetry readings all over California's Central Coast. And during that time, I've had the privilege of hearing and seeing some very talented poets read their own words. This show is to be a platform for those poets to be seen and heard by you. Now, here's a few facts about our first guest, Alene Smith. Alene collects good karma every day. One of her favorite quotes is, "I'm too young to be this old." Alene Smith thrives on classical music, Frank Zappa, listening to her cat purring, and hearing the town clock gong at midnight. She has lived and loved in Santa Cruz since 1969. After she rejected the middle class, she became a bisexual chocoholic and beer connoisseur. Along with her passion for working for social justice, she composes and orates her poetry. In 1975, Alene published A Small Private Circus, and in 1991, Active Ingredients. Instead of learning Spanish, she speaks Siamese and Alabamese, a common expression from having a mother from Alabama. Alene's poems have appeared in several anthologies, and she plans to publish her 21st century book of poetry titled "And the Ducks Kept Laughing." As a passionate photographer, since her trip to Bali, Indonesia in 1980, she is presently showing her art at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History through September 2018, so get down there and see it. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first guest, Alene Smith. So welcome to our show, and tell me what you'd like to talk about, Alene.
Well, I wish that I had half an hour to orate everything, and I would like to jump in right away, but titles for future two poems, Watching My Cat Watching a Bird, and 3 p.m. on the 3rd floor, which will be like an erotic poem.
Oh, good.
2 favorite quotes by Frank Zappa. Without deviation from the norm, progress is not possible. Music is the only religion that delivers. But a new one I so love by Albert Einstein. There are 2 refuges from the miseries of life, cats and music. However, we must definitely add poetry.
Absolutely.
Cats, music, and poetry. Cats, music, and poetry.
Right on.
Here's one more quote. Writing poetry is digging for gold in your soul.
I like that.
Culling through so much material. I've even found poetry from the 70s that, I'm going to change that. I've culled all the scribble scrabble in works in progress. Finally I didn't realize I had so much. I had a little mountain of the written, the printed up, and I already had a couple copies of that, toss that, but planning for the show, it made me dive in to get through go into it more. I've been so busy with other poetry, other life activities, I haven't had a chance to really dig to be a part of my poetry.
Well, I'm glad I served as an impetus to get you to look at that pile. Let me ask you this. Of all the poems you've written, do you have a favorite?
Yes, but it would take half an hour to read, but I'll do a new section of it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I was doing it as I was
Alene Smith.
Santa Cruz, 20 years later, or how much longer will this planet be under the rule of money changers and changing oil? Began this ongoing ballad in 1989. To date, new material. Santa Cruz, before, 4, 5, 6 piercing sounds of sirens every day. Before restaurant toilet rooms locked up. against homeless zombies and junkies. Before every other person under 40 with swarms of tattoos. Before vicious, compounded, greed-infested, hell-bending rent rates. To continue year after year, vulture capitalism. Before every other car being silver, white, silver, white, silver, white. Before 80% of the population online, online, online. Before goddamn speed bumps. Another short version of a lengthy poem, but I retitled it just yesterday. Never existed. Oh God. Goddamn God, where are you? The universal, forever, eternal mystery in human hearts. Life after life, generation to generation, perhaps the Almighty is hiding on another planet as we flawed humans must remain on this hell on earth, where God, forever being gold, oil, and drugs. God. Where are you, 1974? You and me and me and you, off to see the wizard, wherever she can be found, in Death Valley, at the San Diego Zoo. And under the covers, of course. 3 years later, lying under the sun with you at a naked pool for this public, who must always pay a price, sharing time with you and a female bagpipe player. Naked is my body. Covered are my thoughts. Involuntary images float across my mind. My second most favorite poem, download your upload. Your computer stuck in a trauma, you disassociate with your child within. Your common, average, healthy processing out of simply being actually human. To relax, accept, let go, keep breathing. Yes, all the psychobabble is significant. While she was convinced her lover had become out to lunch, not playing with a full deck. A psychic split from whose reality? Which reality? From jerk circles to circle hugs. His core self nestled in a large, cushy chair with soft all over big teddy bear curled at his neck. We're all working through the confusion, implosion, infusion of societal dictates, interjecting our minds by trying to identify with trying to identify, beyond the memories, demonizing our minds in this new age of high-tech minus physical contact, well-wired, beeping into a future of post-verbal madness, to cyber-rape it, fax it to fix it, fucks the facts. Let's go to the floppy disco, to email all over the dance floor, getting our brains off the screen with .com, .do, .do, do it with Intel chips in our shoulders, megabyte cocktails. Will he let her gigabyte his hard drive? Can he DVD her sex drive? Is being immersive addictive? Do you bow down to a CD-ROM guru? Is it PC to not have a PC? Ooh, let me embrace your software. Let me make it into firm, erect hard drive. I say PU to your PC as so many humans chanting, channeling, all alone in electronic cocoons to live life with not living life in this real world where virtual reality is not actual reality. Are you in a chat room or in an opera house? Fast loading or having a frolic fuck feed feasting festival? Always using interfaces? Or can you enter face to face? Are you lost? Lost in web space? Clickety click, clickety click, clickety click, click, click. Never, oh wait, you did that. Oh, excuse me. The moon is in fellatio. Music of Liszt warns me of many changes swirling around my mind. Sappho, my kitten goddess, rests her chin and wonders at me. My ears reach out to grasp a sensual violin. While everyone is saving the last dance for someone, or joining a religious order, or going up a one-way street through a red light, in this last lost paradise of broken rules, broken glass, broken hearts, all around me, spaced out people, all colors, sizes, tongues, tunes, tastes, with ears, eyes, searching, searching, searching for the right moment, that right partner, that right job, right dream, right shoes, right words, right gift, searching for that fly to swat, while the scapegoats gape through our eyes of disbelief. Lusty moon, American haiku. Luna, Luna, her full bloom she swells, her bright beams of pleasure greeting ocean waves, rising, rising, rolling with thunderous pleasure. Full moon swelling as she is ravished with hot, hot kisses from the sun. Dick extensions, stark striking steeples piercing the sky, hard won, heavy hovering Humvees, fat farting, feisty fierce SUV, pelvis, piss off pooping motorcycles. My missile is bigger than yours, he shouted to Captain Cox, who kept smiling as he nodded with mind on his birthday, a drinking all buddy outing with guns to cock at shooting range. September birth, Virgo with penis rising. While we wait for the market to crash, so many service jobs to be dehumanizing, debilitating, devouring of one's spirit. More occupational activities becoming non-existent. If it were not for Medi-Cal, Medicaid, if it were for not food stamps, subsidized housing, government-sponsored labor, if it were not for AFDC, GA, SSI, this nation, this country, this society, this massive, huge, enormous population of humans being human would be an actual, very real, horrendous, bleak depression. Getting busted. Thursday night, the sky is smiling. I went out to make friends with the universe again. I met the man in the moon, had a few drinks, too many, change my course in mid-flight, to soar back home at low altitude, to dream alone. Morning fog, a knock on the door, shook me from my nest of reality, confiscated my creativity, so I had to join the Fools' Union as they stole my soul for 3 hours. I waited, waiting to be sent to oblivion. This was the first act in this social circus, in the first ring. Bad karma, fate, the moon is in Aries. It's election time. How do you plea, guilty or not innocent? I was just another pawn on the patriarchal chessboard, shaped into this building called a jail. And it was for penal code, or penis code. Where did that Latin come from? Penal code 647B, which is, in state law, solicitation to sell some sex.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Alene Smith.
Oh, I wish I
Thank you. Joseph Jason Santiago LaCour is a spoken word poet and MC from the Midwest, now living in Santa Cruz. A Filipino and French Creole fiasco, he has struggled as a young parent and worked countless jobs. Today, his daughters are grown, he has a true love in his life, and he wants to share his art, his heart, with you. As a member of the legendary collective and co-creator of the Santa Cruz Word Church, a weekly poetry event at the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History, he consciously contributes to a strong community of artists in Santa Cruz. And I'd like to welcome you and introduce you to my friend, Joseph Jason Santiago LaCour. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So, Joseph, tell me what you would like to speak about today.
Well, thank you. First of all, just thank you for having me. Thank you for having this show.
Well,
this is an amazing thing. It's an outlet for poetry, and it's actually a resource for people who don't really know what poetry is. I'm kind of new to the art of poetry. I've only been studying and performing probably for about 20 years. And there are, people in the academic circles who, have their doctorate and who've studied the classics. And for me, it all comes from hip hop. I guess really the thing that's most important to me that I would really like to talk about is just communication. I know this show and the network, it's all broadcast through the internet. It's amazing. I used the metaphor earlier. The river. It's just this river passing through, and so many of us just pick what we need out of the internet, and we're growing. It's constantly growing and evolving and changing. Communication seems to be at the heart of everything that I'm doing. I try to make sure that it all starts and stops with love, but really that's what it is. It's very important to me, too. The language, the way we communicate.
Communication, absolutely. It's paramount in these days, and for young people coming up to understand what other generations have gone through and what might be coming. The only way you know that is if you're communicating with people.
Sure.
With people.
Sure.
I stress with people, not watching somebody tell you something that you don't know where it comes from.
I agree completely. Alene
And
said
that's the strength of poetry.
Yeah.
Is people think about what they're writing first, and then they read it, and then they get feedback, and then they continue to read it because the feedback is good.
Right.
And then other people benefit from it because of the words. I know I've been reading and writing for as many years as I have. You're constantly experimenting,
Right.
What buttons can I push? Was that right? Did that work? Are they listening to me?
Right. Right. And that seems to be what's important to me too. I mean, through all the communication is listening. Like, you see something online, you watch a video, maybe one of the previous shows, and you receive the communication of the poets through the screen, through the speakers, into your ears, into your brain, And what it does is it encourages internal communication, what it is that we're passionate about.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of it. That's when the cycle it's almost complete. After you've decided what's important to you, then you communicate in return. And that's the beauty of the whole thing to me.
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
Of all the poems you've written, do you have a favorite?
I do.
Good. What's the title?
The Jungle.
Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is step to the podium, read that poem first, and then give us whatever else you've got.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Jason Santiago LaCour.
Welcome to the jungle, Earth's and the sun's too. Take a walk, it's too beautiful to run through. I'm your tour guide and your bodyguard, call me Jay. I studied Kung Fu, Art of War, Sun Tzu, easy like 1, 2. I really want you to get up in the rhythm with me. One brew, a joint, ooh. I like mango and tango with lime in it. Stick a rhyme in it, feeling good in 5 minutes. Anything you might witness is yours and my business. If this is a visit, just pay attention till I'm finished. See the life with us, let the light heal us. And trust me, cause the bugs just might kill us in the jungle. It's an endless abyss of concrete, broken glass, and steel, real green with greed. The streets are just tributaries to various interstate-like waterways, the banks of which are the cracked sidewalks that flourish with life on a whole new level. Vibration. It's so subtle. By the time you feel it, yo, you know it's trouble. Trees are chopped and evenly dispersed amongst the natives for the purpose of self-maintenance. Some of us find shelter here and grow too comfortable to leave. We make medicine for brave hearts with the rite of passage, like puff puff pass it, only papyrus, no plastic. The overgrowth is drastic. Indigenous tribes are damn near extinct. Think jungle fever, dark and light, bend, blending into shadows, quickly cooling the pursuit of our roots. The mating call is hidden proof. Languages hang long and loose from family tree branches, fed by fantasies, captured and capped off with shots of Patron, clapped off till I got you alone, off with that cloth. Nothing that soft should be so wrong. The jungle. There's an order to it all. From its burrows and elephants to its guerrilla warfare politics. How volatile a mix of ecosystems, bumping victims, pumping fists and jumping block to block, mocking the back and forth rocking of chameleons. Really, son, don't come here unless you're from here. See, I left the jungle, but it never left me. And when none of the other lands would accept me, this place blessed me with sanctuary. And now, I find peace in the pulse of the hustle. And if there's beef, my peeps on a double follow my war cry. Brat! War paint, tattered and scarred with reminders of the price of life here. Survive your first 25 here, and you're suddenly humbled by the madness and majesty, the sadness and tragedy of such a breakneck economical tropical ecstasy. Baby, walk the path of light. Keep tight like right next to me, and together we will learn to rise above the anarchy and the insanity beneath the canopy of a beautiful place that we call home. The next poem I'd like to read is from my second book of poetry entitled Dope Poet Love. It is available from my website, and it's inspired by the Chamber of Heart and Mystery, which is an installation at the Museum of Art and History in Santa Cruz. And it's dedicated to my Kuya Earl. He's a heart transplant recipient and just straight up one of the realest people you will ever meet. It's entitled Heart. Heart. By far one of my favorite words. Perhaps fourth behind dope, poet, and love. A profane 5 letters. Just the right amount of vowels wrapped in consonants squeezed into a single syllable diphthong, maybe mono. My southern twang sings it as a single sound, heart. A 1-inch punch trigger break, beautiful suppressed shot that fires quickly, escalating from whisper to wail, stopping short with meaning. Its ancient origin is in the diaphragm. Exhale. For when you tell the tale of the timekeeper, you must pace yourself, lest the tiny spaces between life and death clog and crowd, making it hard to bleed. Blood clots in the brain, clap thunder, lightning strikes, and life's most familiar streaks across the sky, estranged. Scorched clouds of memory become perfect places to dance. The heart dances. Isang paru-paro. La mariposa. My Lola visits me as a hummingbird. With instructions she concocted, caring for my grandfather post-op quadruple bypass, I laugh as she calls him Utu Utu. She says the heart is strong when you are young, anak. And I agree that it is also full of air and far more likely to implode. I have learned that as a people, we birth carbon copies of our hearts and call them children. Handmade, paper-mache, origami godlings, we shape them in our image and fill them with flowers and sage. I pray she creates her own cracks to fix forever. For when we die, their hearts will become reanimated canopic jars, jewel-encrusted creatures to be handled with care. To be open is to be shattered. Our hearts are fractured. Compound like words, like mine started out as just he, until she gave me art, completing the puzzle. A perpetual struggle protecting this dark crystal matrix arc reactor behind our solar plexus. Nothing is better medicine than to listen to it. Hear this. The heart is where the hurt heads when it's ready to receive healing. Be still, my beat, ting. This one is entitled Madre de Maíz. Her lines tell stories. Starvation and plenty balance beauty beneath the bone. A radiant reina who has renounced fashion trends and crash diets, who has accepted the responsibility of timelessness. Having held children and worked rightly since the beginning, and even rebounding after a lifelong relationship with death, respect is expected. With the breath of life in her breast and the light of acceptance in her heart, all she sows grows. La Madre de Maíz. Nuestro verdad. Muchas gracias por su cariño. Your crying, your dying and resurrection of the sun some 60 summers ago. The way you stare is a stairway to heaven. Having walked across celestial jungles, oceans, and deserts, you have shed more myths and made more magic than we can possibly ever comprehend. Master of disguise, keeper of lies, pain and anguish that you would never show. To behold such beauty is to bear fruit, and said fruit shall feed roots. As these roots keep us connected, laughter almost undetected, subtle signs of love. The last poem I'd like to read is an ekphrastic poem, inspired by a painting by my friend, best friend, and partner, Rika Smith de la Luz. The painting is entitled Medicina, and I titled the poem Medicina, aka Colibrica. How to turn air into time in 10 steps. 1. be born to fly. Ruby-throated launch with the ease of a yes. Bounce about gravity. Gracefully vibrate. As we migrate, mate, and build, carry messages across continental divides, be ready to die if you are deprived of this duty. Our lofty dreams depend upon your instinct to thrive, too. Whisper in gossamer hues. Holler, a bright display of death becomes you. Touch me, watch me flutter shy, cry rivers in honor of the extinct. Blink once you understand. Invite me into your vision, pleasure, center, sinner in a golden ratio of heaven to hell. We've been here before. Keep it moving. 3. Bury the past. You can come back for it later if you really need it. Freedom moves forward, upward, and outward. Imprisonment is simply separation from the natural evolution of the spirit. Space is a matter of respect. Do not throw shade, but shed light. 4. Swallow the scene whole. Be careful of the bones. Ignore the crown of thorns they give you. Purify the sound of your infinite resonance. Connect it to the innocence of your youth before truth and shame became synonymous. 5. Anonymity is a virtue. Hidden between the layers are epiphanies. Free radicals writing the mantra, the sage chants, words burning their way into the ether over stolen tongue, a palate bronzed by an alchemical priestess at peace with her crazy tears crystal. 6. The day on which it is written God made man. When I was 6, I believed this to be true. But by 7, I knew better. As a rift in time formed a line dividing heart and mind shift into a higher gear. Grandmother Earth with open arms offering everything to the moon and back. Blood and a bayou in the yard. 8, state your name and name your price early. It will change. This game of death is sold out, so sell out. Fold, close the sale, exceed your quota of positive results, address objection, project light right where it's needed. 9, dance. Align like sound, sine waves. Be brave enough to crash through mirrors, move, and like magic, you'll change our entire perception of everything. Face your fears and make them fear your face. Smile and cry unfiltered. Fill each sinus with jasmine and lavender. Laugh at the cat. Let's twirl. Make melody a remedy for malady. 10, finally. Grow old together. The world has never needed you more. Your song is as long as you sing it, satin-winged warriors. Sharpen your stars and shine upon our seas deep. We hereby deem you worthy of all you will ever desire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Jason Santiago LaCour. Thank you everyone for watching our show. My name's Jim Russo. This has been Central Coast Poetry Shows. Find us again, and good night.
I'm beating up the street tonight. I slept